Hi guys, how you doing? Hope you guys had a good lunch. I believe it's about 2 o'clock right now, and so hope you guys are doing good. We are going to be starting today on session 4. There's a couple of things we're going to do. First of all, I have not finished grading all of your papers, your midterms yet, but I'm almost done. But I've been enjoying reading your papers, so um, thank you for that. Some of you need to put a little more effort, but most of you did a very good job, so I appreciate it. All right. I know it's lunch, after lunch. You're probably a little tired and sleepy, but hey, let's focus and let's get this done. There's a couple of things we're going to do today. We're going to divide class into 2 sections. First, we're going to go through the lecture notes. It's going to only take about 25 to 30 minutes. Then I'll give you a break. And then when you come back, you're going to be watching a message, a sermon. We're dividing class into 2 categories today. The first part is going to be focusing on the principles. I don't know if you can see here, but for Christian service. What we're talking about in this class, some practical guide to spiritual disciplines. And one of the practical ways that we can do the work of God is service, right? Christian service. And so that's what we're going to be talking about. Another practical way to grow in our spiritual disciplines is to study the Word of God. And that's what the second part of class is going to be. You're going to be watching a message from actually the church that I attend to. I think it's a good message, entertaining, and it really teaches you as well. So trying to give you an idea of what that's like too. So we're going to be focusing on those 2 specific things. Okay, so if you can get your notes out, I'm going to put up, let's see here, I'm going to put up the PowerPoint. There we go. I'm going to get my pointer going here. And I'm going to display all the PowerPoint at one page all at once. And please try not to go ahead. Just write in and fill in what you need to fill in for your notes. Follow along as best as you can, okay? Excuse me. So, again, Practical Guide to Spiritual Discipline. This is session 4. And we're going to be focusing on the principles for Christian service and ministry. Okay, and let's go ahead. So, one of the greatest parts of spiritual discipline, remember, spiritual discipline are things that we can do to grow in our relationship with the Lord. Discipline. If you were a football player, we would say one of the disciplines that you would do is you would exercise, right? You would run. So you would run laps, as many laps as you need to. You would catch the football. You would learn how to tackle. See, all these things you would learn to do, and then you could put them all together. What you actually would call disciplines, put them together, and you would create a football player. So when we're talking about spiritual disciplines as a Christian, as a believer in God, we're talking about little parts that we can do, little responsibilities that we can do to grow in our faith as well. Okay, so one of the greatest parts of spiritual discipline has to do with the word ministry. Oh, and by the way, sorry, for those of you who are morning class, I know there's kind of like this sign here that's kind of overlapping the video. Sorry about that. Didn't realize that was going to be there. But I can't get rid of it now, so just ignore it, just follow along, okay? Ministry does not have one specific definition, but many parts encompassing the one word. So today's word is basically ministry slash service. And what does that mean? And there's not one specific definition. It entails a lot of different things, but we're going to be focusing on kind of overall what does it mean. All right. Let me check my time here. I don't want to go over today. So, what is ministry? Okay, what is it? There's a couple of things. First, service. First, service towards others as a result of God's service towards us. So ministry in its foundation is God serving us. One of the best ways, He created us, but one of the best ways He served us, sacrificed Himself or ministered to us, was die for our sins, right? And so that's an aspect, but He also spent time with people, disciples, teaching them, loving them, teaching them how to pray, teaching them how to relate to people, teaching them how to feed the poor. These are all aspects. But in the very foundation, again, here we say service towards others. Yes, we serve others, but we don't serve them just because we want to be good people, but it's a direct result of God's service towards us. So it stems from our love relationship with God, right? Second part is service with the context of the church because of the gifts God has given to us, His born again followers. So another aspect of ministry is in the Bible. It talks about gifts like gift of teaching, gift of mercy, gift of compassion, gift of service, right? Gift of preaching. So these are different gifts that we have, and we are to use those gifts as ministry as well. So that's another aspect. So one is just kind of general that we serve because God served us. Another is because a gift. So I want you to ask yourself, hey, don't fall asleep over there. I want you to focus and ask yourself the question: what am I good at? What can I do well? And a lot of times, God uses that and God gives that to us. So, for example, maybe some of you are good teachers, right? Maybe when you communicate, it makes sense to people. That's not always easy. It's not easy to talk in front of a lot of people. Um, Today I get to talk to you on screen, but usually I'm there in person, and not everyone can do that, right? At the same time, some of you may be great listeners. I mean, do you have people calling you all the time? People crying at your door, crying on your shoulder, crying on the phone. I don't know. Then you might have a gift of compassion, listening. And so these are kind of gifts that God has given us. And so, what is ministry? Well, there's a lot of aspects to it, but these are a couple of those. So, what is the definition? Okay, if we get down to the definition, specifically what's going to be on your final, right? The Webster's Dictionary defines it as a person or a thing through which something is accomplished. Okay, so a person or a thing today it's a person, right? You're not a thing. So, person or thing through which something is accomplished. So something gets done through ministry. So ministry is not, hey, let me just think about, um, maybe I'll think about helping out my friend who's in a hard situation, right? Well, you can think about it all you want to, but that's not ministry. Ministry is not thinking about the process. Ministry is actually doing something, accomplishing something. That's why I like this last part of the Webster's Dictionary, basically saying accomplish. You have to accomplish something, right? But for our class, we can define it simply as this: serving God by serving others. Okay? Serving God by serving others. Make sure you know that definition. We serve God by serving others. Okay? We just don't serve others. There has to be a purpose of why we serve. You can be a nice guy or a nice gal and just serve people, but that's not the main reason. Again, it's an outflowing, an outflowing, sorry, an overflow of our love relationship with God. Okay, so as we love God, God loves us, then we overflow to other people. Okay, so make sure you know that definition: serving God by serving others. Okay, and so let's kind of focus on the principle. We're only going to actually get today, just going to focus on one. Yeah, we only actually have time for one. So, principles of Christian service or ministry. Principle 1: character is the foundation of ministry. Okay? So, character is the foundation of ministry. We cannot do ministry or serve others if we don't have good character. Um, that's just the primary fact. Okay, that's the foundation for everything that we will build ministry on. Okay, so let's ask the question then: what is character? What is character? Well, we see here that reputation is what people think we are. Um, Actually, hold on one second. Let me, and you guys can see my screen here. We don't have a lot of notes, but let me insert some anime here because I think it's going to be better if we do this. Try not to cheat here and take all my answers. Just give me 1 second. Anyway, anyone have a good lunch? No? Good? Alright, great. Give me 1 second. Anyone go to my favorite Thai restaurant, by the way, that I keep telling you guys about? Just down the street, Lucky Thai. Anyway, go give them your business. Good food. 1 second. Almost done here. Yeah. Okay, fantastic. Fantastic. Alright. So, let's get back to it. Yeah, this is what I wanted. So, what is character? What is character? How do we define that? If character is the foundation for service, so character is not just just like doing something. It is a part of who you are. So, here there's a quote by this famous guy, this famous Christian guy. It says, "Reputation is what people think you are, right? But character is what God, and we can add people, knows we are." Okay, so reputation is what people think about us. Like maybe they think, for example, for me, a lot of times when people meet me the first time, they think I'm a very mean person. I don't know why that's the case, but I do know. It's because when my appearance, I'm very kind of stoic. I'm not the most happy, talkative, outgoing. In fact, I'm a very shy person. So people think that, oh, he must be a very mean guy, not approachable. But in fact, if you get to know me, I think I'm very approachable. I communicate with you. I communicate with everyone. I can hold a conversation. I think I'm friendly enough, and so you might think one thing about me, but when you really know me, I'm someone else. So in a way, character is different than a reputation. It's not what we think of you, but it's really what you are, right? It's like the type of person that you are when no one's around. That's actually something we're going to talk about. Webster's dictionary, again, defines character as moral excellence. Okay, we've talked about morality. Moral or morality is basically right versus wrong. So moral would be right, right? So basically, someone who is excellent in being right. Okay, doing the right things. Now that doesn't mean that you're like a goody two shoe and you only do like perfect things. No, nobody's perfect. But what we're saying is that you consistently choose to do what is right, okay, instead of choosing to do what is wrong, and that's a really important thing there. In order to be a person of character, we must be morally excellent. So again, because we're talking about service and ministry, and if character is the foundation, it basically means if you want to really serve and you want to minister to people, we have to be morally excellent. We have to come to a point where we can be right, right? Because in how we are as a person, and that's very important before you can do ministry that really will last. Have a good foundation. So the Bible defines character in several ways. First, Jesus describes it in the Beatitudes. Blessed are the poor, those who mourn, who desire righteousness, those who are merciful, who are pure, who are peacemakers, and persecuted for Christ, right? So, what are some aspects, characteristics of someone, that would be a person of character, right? And so we see here someone who mourns, you know, someone who desires righteous. You want right things. Someone who shows mercy to other people. That can be in very, that could be as simple as something as when you're when you're in line for food and somebody cuts in, and just not being aggressive and losing your temper and going crazy. I know that's not really like most of us in our Asian culture, let's say, to be loud and obnoxious and things like that. But at the same time, merciful. We can be merciful in all areas. Forgiveness is forgiveness in all cultures, right? Um, Peacemakers, those who stand between and create peace. This can be done here. I know a lot of times we think peacemakers are like two people that fight at a grocery store or something like that. You just step in there and say, hey guys, let's cool it. But I really think when it says peacemakers, a lot of times it's focusing on family and friends, people that are close to us. You know why? Because it's hard to be peacemakers. It's hard to stay in between relationships, right? Especially, I mean, my sister just came over this weekend, and then my other sister came, and then family came over, and we didn't have any fights or anything, but the dynamic changes when you're with people that you really love and people that are part of your family. And it's hard to be a peacemaker when everyone has kind of the same understanding of each person, you know. Um, so I think you guys get my point. Let's move on. We have about, hey everyone, wake up, okay? Wake up, you over there. I see you. Okay, wake up. We have about 12 minutes, 11 minutes, and then we're gonna take a break and come back with our next session. So hang in there. Um, Also, the Apostle Paul describes character in the fruit of the Spirit verses, right? Galatians chapter 5 verse 22 says, but the Holy Spirit produces this kind of fruit in our lives. Okay, what kind of fruit? Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness. We kind of see that again. Goodness, kindness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Okay, so we see here that what other characteristics can we have? What does a person of character look like? Again, they love, right? They're able to love. They're able to give love and also receive love. They're joyous. Sometimes we don't. I know, talking with some of you, even including myself, there are times where it's not so joyful. We have difficult circumstance of life, but we can because of our character, we can have joy. Not joy that things are going badly or things are going wrong, but joy knowing that God is in it. I just recently found out through email, Facebook actually. I don't know if I shared this with you, but one of the people that I knew, that in the churches that I was working in, I just found out that he had passed away, and this is the week before Halloween actually, and he's I think he's actually younger than I am, and he had a heart attack. Um, and it just kind of it just shows you. And I think I shared with some of you before. We don't know how long we have on this earth, right? So we have to take advantage of the time that we have, and it's a hard thing. He has actually he had one daughter that graduated from college, and then one just got into college, and so he leaves two daughters and his wife, right? Um, and it's a difficult situation. But I was reading on Facebook, and the daughter was writing. It's a very difficult thing to write, and she's just kind of sharing that she's crying all the time when she thinks of him, and but she adds in there that she knows that he's in a better place, and so she can have a joyful heart, right? I mean, how do you write that as someone who's lost a parent that you were close to? And I saw their interaction. They were a close family. They weren't this distant, you know, Asian family. No, they were close. They were loving. But she understood. See, this is what it means when you have a character and you can show joy. Is that it's not, I mean, it's a horrendous situation, but she has trust in the Lord, and then God gives her the ability to have joy, to trust that this life is not the end, but there is an afterlife, right? So, anyway, let me get off my soapbox. And peace, patience, kindness, goodness. This is a good, especially for those who are Christians out there. This is a good checklist. Ask yourself: do I have joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control? If you have, I would say, if you have, like, a majority of these things, or a lot of these things, then you're on a good track. And just keep going. If you don't have too many of these things, then I would say it's time to recenter your focus. It's time to recenter your mind on the Lord, honestly. And so let's just keep that in mind. We've got about 7 more minutes. Let's keep going, everybody. So people who have character have what we say integrity. Okay, so what is integrity? Integrity is honest or having strong moral principles. So that morality comes in again, the moral principle. Man, I hope I didn't push mute on this thing. But anyway, okay, so strong moral principle. We're not trying to fool others, which is what we call hypocrisy. Acting a certain way, saying a certain thing, but then acting a certain way. We're not trying to do that, or we're not trying to fool ourselves either, thinking that we are better than we are, or thinking that we're lower than we are, but just understanding who we are, right? So people who have character have what we call integrity. The example in the Bible is Joseph. For those of you in my Old Testament class, you should know this, but Joseph was someone that was one of Jacob's sons, and his brothers hated him, right? Just they literally hated him because their father Jacob treated him the best. And so they took him, threw him in a ditch, basically wanted to kill him, but they decided not to, and sold him into slavery. And he was taken, and basically a servant for the king of Egypt took him in to be a servant. And the official's wife saw Joseph, saw he was a good-looking guy, and she grabbed him multiple times and wanted to have sexual relationships with him. But he kept saying, "I can't do this. I can't do this." And the thing about that is nobody would know, right? And I say here, nobody would know what had happened. She's not going to tell. He's not going to tell. Nobody will see what's going on. But he would continuously tell her, "I can't do this because in the eyes of God, I'm serving your husband. Even though I'm a slave, I'm serving your husband. I cannot dishonor him like that." And that's what we call integrity, right? Having up here again, strong moral principle, having strong moral principle, choosing to do what is right, right? So it affects. It's not, when we say service, it's not just serving people, going to, like, the homeless shelter. Yeah, we can do that, and that's good. But when we really want to serve in a deeper level, it takes integrity, right? Because it matters who we are. Let's continue. We have about 4 minutes, guys. Hang on, all right? So how is character revealed in everyday life? Like, what do we see? When we've been talking about character, but how do we see it? What does it look like? Well, I'll just give you a few examples. First, telling the truth. This is actually lie. Should I change that right now? Let me just change that right now. Lie. All right, great thing about lie is I can do things right at the moment. Okay. So here we go. So, telling the truth when a lie would help you in a particular situation. Okay. Policeman pulls you over and says, "Ma'am, sir, do you know how fast you're driving?" And you're like, 65, right? And you're going like 102. And because he didn't have his gun out, he's like, "All right, I believe you." Actually, that never happens, but you guys know what I'm saying, right? Whether you're in a workplace, whether you're just in a situation where you could tell a lie and get away with it, and it would be for your benefit, but in the long run, it wouldn't be because you're hurting your character, right? Another example is taking the blame when somebody else deserves it. So someone else has maybe done something, fouled something up at work, but maybe you're a supervisor. You take the blame for it. You take the brunt for it, right? Maybe something happens in a relationship, and you know that the other person is wrong, but in order to keep peace, in the house, you say, you know what, that's okay. You get it. I'll take the hit for that, right? I'll take the blame for that. You can do that too. Another example is like not cutting corners in your job when no one no one is inspecting or watching you. Just had an experience of this today during my training session. Our supervisor had to leave 1 hour early, and so we were working and kind of working on our training, and one of my coworkers, one of the other trainees, man, she went crazy. She's like, nobody's here. She started going everywhere, talking to everybody, bothering us all the time. Like, she was getting so loud, people had to shush her down, and during training time, and we're like, man, we should have like 30 minutes left, right? And this is training time. We have 30 minutes, and we're developing training techniques, and she just didn't do anything. She was just goofing around, the whole time, bothering everyone else actually. And so, I mean, nobody's watching her. Actually, another supervisor had to come like 30 minutes later because she was getting so loud, and had to talk to her. I don't know if she got in trouble, whatever, um, but nobody was watching. But she chose to behave in a certain way, right? Now, I believe she chose to behave in a way that doesn't build character, doesn't have integrity. And I don't want to judge her. I'm not saying she's doing this all the time, but I'm saying in situations, right? Because that's a real situation. We're talking about real situation. That's a real situation where she chooses not to be a person of integrity. And so let's keep that in mind. Let's look at this point here. Make sure you get this point. Character means living your life before God, fearing only Him, and seeking to please Him alone, no matter how you feel or what others may say or do. And I think that's the key here, is that we're living our life for God. And if we understand that we're living our lives for God, then actually thinking about other people won't even come into play, because we will understand that the choices that we make, the things that we do, the things that we say, right, matter, because we're doing it unto God, not other people. We have about 1 minute, so hang in there. 1 minute. Let's finish this off. So, how to build character. So how do we build this character? First, character is developed not only by doing just one thing. It's not just one thing. We said character is defined by many things, right? It's not just one thing. And so as we develop character, it's not just one thing either, but it's different. It involves a lot of different life experiences. So some ways we can build character. First, make the Bible a part of our inner being and obey what it says. You have to get into the Word. You have to read the Bible. And I know I've talked about this quite often, but you just can't know God if you don't know the Bible, right? Example, Colossians chapter 3, verse 13. It says, "Forgive anyone who offends you. Remember, the Lord forgave you, so you must forgive others." So there's a teaching right there that God's teaching us, right? Forgive others who offend you. Why? Why should I do that? Well, it says here, because God forgave us. And so we have to forgive others, because as God shows and reveals the character of who He is, we need to reveal that character to other people. So right there is an example for us. Next, daily quiet time. Do quiet time. So quiet time is so easy. You know, let me just go right here. I'm just opening up my search. Not Google. This is my quiet time, my utmost. This is a quiet time that I try to use on a daily basis. Page is not working for some reason. So I think it's crashing or something. It's crashing. But anyway, my utmost for his highest is what I use. Right? So this is the website right here, and then I'll just click it. Normally it works. What about daily bread? Daily bread. Let's see if daily bread works. Our daily bread is another. It's not working either. I don't know what's is my web not working. I'm not even sure. Anyway, maybe my internet's not working. Okay, anyway, let's keep going. But you guys get what I'm saying. You can go online and read. Okay, so spend time also with other Christians, helping each other grow in the faith. We need time. That's one of the reasons why we go to church, so that we can be encouraged and also encourage people, right? And then praying, talking with God, joyfully making sacrifice and being willing to serve. So let's wrap this up. Some ways we can strengthen character includes. So what are some other ways? Going through suffering and depending on God's grace to bring us through and glorify His name, right? So one of the ways, the most often, honestly, ways that God builds character in our lives is through suffering, unfortunately. When we go through suffering, God is trying to help us to build character, to go through the suffering. Suffering is not fun, whether it's an illness. I shared with you before how I was out of a job for like 8 months and then 9 months. I mean, it's hard. You don't want to suffer like that. You know that I lost my sister to sickness. That's not fun. Personal battles in marriage and raising kids, those are not fun. I mean, that stuff happens, but it's through that difficult experience that God builds character. And so, God even says that, in Scripture. So, yes, it sucks. Let's just be honest. It doesn't. It's not a great experience to suffer, but great character is built through that, right? Also, how can we include strengthen our character? Discipline, and then make courageous decisions. Make decisions that are difficult, right? Sometimes we have to cut off a relationship. To be honest with you, I've had to say that a couple times to people that I've counseled. I just don't think this is gonna work, right? Yeah, they hate you for it. They hate me for it at the time, but sometimes we gotta make those courageous decisions to say I'm not gonna do this particular thing. Let's just wrap it up here. Two more points, and then commitment, commitment to the Lord, commitment to the church, commitment to each other, and then stepping out of solitude and embracing accountability. What that means is don't be by yourself all the time, right? Don't just be so solemn and in your own mind, and just don't just think about issues and difficulties on your own, but embrace accountability. Get out there. Have people, join a small group in a church. Get connected with people, because when other people get connected with you, then you learn to strengthen each other up. You also learn to grow, to mature, to be honest with you, because when you're alone, you just act and behave the way you want to, but we can't do that. We need to be able to develop ourselves, and that's one of the best ways. And finally, we're almost done. Finally, last point is ministry offers us excellent opportunities to mature in Christian character. So that's it, right? I don't need to elaborate on that. So, okay, you guys go take a break, next 15 minutes or so, whatever, who's ever watching over the class tells you, go take a break, and then when you come back, you're going to be watching a message. And be sure to answer the questions. That's going to be your quiz. And then I'll collect that Wednesday when I come to class on Wednesday night. So make sure you turn in that work. Some of you, by the way, don't go yet. Some of you, in your quiz last week, in your midterm, did not write enough information. Okay, so you'll be getting a notice from the office about that, because you can't leave me blank or one sentence answers. Okay, so you'll be getting a message from the office about those things. So just keep that in mind. All right, so go take your break, and we'll come back after and start watching the film. All right, thanks, guys.